Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, The Gentleman Reviewer this week. So tonight I have the Pentel Graph Gear 1000, which I'll be reviewing for you guys. One of my first mechanical pencil reviews was actually the Pentel Graph Gear 500. This is one of the ones that I've had the longest, so be sure to check out my video. I think it's actually my most popular video right now. More recently, I reviewed the Pentel Graph Gear 800, which is it's supposed to be a step up to the 500 and a step between the 500 and the 1000. I didn't really like it a heck of a lot, so you can go over and check my video if you're interested in that. And then, like I said, tonight I have the Pentel Graph Gear 1000. So later on, I will be doing a comparison video between these three with some of the things I like and dislike about each one of them in one video. I can't decide if I want to do a blog post comparing the three of them like in written format, but if you guys would like to see that, I'll definitely write one up for you guys. So I've had the chance to use this for a couple of weeks now. I've had it for a couple of months, but as you probably have guessed, I have quite a few mechanical pencils and I can only review one at a time, or I prefer to only review one at a time so I can give it a good solid test and make sure that I have my points and my ducks in a row, I guess. So, like I said, I've used this for a couple of weeks now. Right off the bat, I really liked the weight of it. It's a solid metal pencil, and it gives it a good weight. I prefer heavier pens, especially something along the lines of like a Rotring 800. I'll be comparing it to this in a little bit since they're both retractable tips. But yeah, I mean, I didn't like the grip right off the bat, but it did grow on me over time. Things tend to do that, I guess. I don't like it at first, but then they grow on me. I think I've said that quite a few times in this blog. So like I said, it's made entirely of metal. This is the only one in the Graph Gear line that is entirely metal. I'm going to guess that it's steel because it feels quite a bit lighter than the like a Rotring 800 or a Rotring 600. It's actually not that much lighter. It's only a couple of ounces. It's only, I think, 2 ounces. I have the notes down at the bottom of what I've got going right now, so I'll get to that later. One downside to an all-metal pencil is the center of balance. Let's see if I can get this on the camera. Is going to be a little bit higher than the grip. So there we go. It's about right there. Whereas if I were to do the plastic bodied, oh, you see, I was right by the grip and it tipped. The plastic bodied Graph Gear 500 is a little bit higher than that. You can see it's kind of tipping that way, but I got it balanced. And then the 800, you're already on the grip by the time you hit the center of balance. So that's one downside for people. People who get fatigued as they're writing tend to do better with a tip heavy pen. So you'll see like the Pilot Doctor grips are tip heavy. Just stuff like that. So people prefer that because it brings the weight down and it makes it easier to write. So another thing where that comes into play is with the length of this pencil. You can see it's very similar to the 500, but it's a good amount longer. As I was writing the post, I think I figured that the extra length comes from the mechanism to retract the tip. That's my best guess. Otherwise, it would just be an oddly short pencil, maybe. I don't know. Alrighty, so if we're going to go to the top, like I said, it's got a retractable tip. You already saw me function it or bring the tip out by depressing the button at the top. Hidden under that is the same eraser that you find on all of the Graph Gear line. It's a pretty decent eraser, but it's pretty small like most drafting pencils. As with the other Graph Gear lines, the tip or the top of it is closed, so you are able to use it without an eraser. Like, I carry a pink pearl around with me because I don't always like using, even the Rotring's kind of a crappy one, but I don't like using the tiny eraser for anything more than like a line in my planner. If you have a sentence that you need to do or erase, then it can kind of get pretty annoying. Alrighty, let's see. So moving down, you can see the clip is quite a bit different than the other ones on the Graph Gear line. It stands out quite a bit more. The 500 I think lays pretty close to the body. Even the 800 does too. But this one, it stands out quite a bit and it's spring loaded. But you can see that's what Pentel uses to keep the tip out. Unlike a rotring, which is a twist. So you can see the tip is now out. Then you twist it. So there you go. I'll review that one later, so I won't go too far into it. But the nice thing about that, I've noticed that as I'm writing, I don't get any plungy feeling or any sort of like feeling that it's jiggling, outside of the tip maybe being a little tiny bit smaller than the hole right there. That's not noticeable at all. So it's a pretty great feature on that. Like I said, you don't get the wiggle and you don't get the plungy feeling. So the nice thing about the clip, given that it's spring-loaded, is it's super easy to fit on a pen loop, on a binder, on a book, over some paper, stuff like that. It's not going to be a pain in the butt like I mentioned on some other pencils and some other reviews and getting into a pen loop. So like I already said, the body is, I think it's a steel. It's brushed metal, so it's got somewhat of a texture to it. And then the only thing on the body is the name, the model, the brand, the model number, the manufacturer location, and the size of the lead. You also saw back here that you have it's not focusing, but you got the size of the lead right there. Still not really focusing, but whatever. As with all of the pencils in the Graph Gear line, it's color coded based on the size of the lead. So 0.3 millimeter is brown, 0.5 millimeter this model is black, 0.7 millimeter is blue, and 0.9 millimeter is yellow. So moving down towards the tip, you will next see the lead grade indicator. This is not useful to me at this time because I don't have different types of lead other than HB. I haven't really branched out into different types of pencil lead, although I'm interested in doing that here shortly. So this is kind of annoying to use, but you have to untwist the tip and then you can rotate, then you can rotate it around. So you can see I had it on HB. It's got options for H, that's getting tight, H, 2H, 2B, B, and then back to HB. So when you get it on the lead indicator that you want, you then have to hold it down and tighten the tip really good. Otherwise, it's going to twist. That's kind of annoying. It's not as easy as on some rotrings, for example. Let me pull out the 500 here, where you can just twist it. But it is a lot more secure, and it isn't going to move like you might see on a rotring, especially the 300 bottle. So it's useful. I like it. If I was changing lead in and out quite a bit, it would get kind of annoying and tedious to do that. But, I mean, you do it once, and then you move on. Alrighty, so the grip on this is the thing that I've found that some people really, really love or really, really hate. It's kind of a mix between the 500 and the 800. I know I said that about the 800, but it is a bit of both. It's knurled metal, and then it's got some rubber pads. The rubber pads don't really stick out enough to offer a heck of a lot of grip, and they don't really seem to do a heck of a lot. It kind of breaks up the feel of the knurled metal, and like I said, some people just really, really don't like that grip. It's not as nice as a knurling on a rotring or a Stettler 925. I'll pull that out while I'm talking. But it does, I mean, despite it being not a super great grip, here's a Stettler 925 -35. That's one of my favorite grips on mechanical pencils, and the 500 is one of my favorites as well. Despite it not being as grippy as some of the other ones, I do find that it grips sufficiently well. It's nothing that is, what am I trying to say? If your hands are sweaty, like if you're writing a lot and your hands get a little bit sweaty, it's going to hold up well enough. I think the rubber really helps there. And so it's going to keep it from sliding around. It's just not, I just don't prefer it as to like, I think a Rotring 600 or the Stettler 925 are two of my top favorites. But yeah, the grip is about 9.5, 9.6 millimeters. I think it's about 9.5 here and the 9.6 here. And that's a good size for my hands. I think the Rotrings are a bit too small, but this one is pretty good. So now moving down, you can see that the tip gradually descends into the retractable tip. So this is the feature that makes, as I already said, it makes it stands out among the other of the Graph Gear lines, and it looks pretty dang similar to the 500. Just seems a little bit smoother, a little bit softer edges. This one is a little bit sharp and a little more defined. This one, like I said, it's a little bit smoother. The nice thing about having a retractable tip, one, if you drop it, and hopefully you have already retracted it, if it hits the tip, not going to do any damage to the tip. If you go check out my video, I actually bent the tip of my 500 and bent it back on a table. And I think it's because I dropped it, or maybe it's because of the way I carry it in my pad folio. But either way, you don't have to worry about it with this. It's got a 4mm fixed tip, which, not fixed, it's got a 4mm retractable tip, which is nice because then you don't have to worry about poking holes in your pockets if you're doing pocket carry, poking holes in your backpack if you're carrying it in a pen sleeve, poking holes in your stationery case. I've found pencil marks all over some paper that I have up against my pencils in there. And so you just don't have to worry about any of that. So overall, this pen comes in at 0.72 ounces or 20 grams. This is 0.21 ounces or 5 grams heavier than the 500 and 0.07 ounces or 2 grams lighter than the Rotring 600. I use the 600 because it's probably the most common Rotring out there. So like I said, I'm a little surprised that this was not as much, like pretty close in weight, these two. Overall, I think I've really liked using the Rotring Graph Gear 1000. It's definitely something that I really have liked. I did come to really enjoy the grip as I use it a lot more than the 800, which is probably my least favorite and the ugliest grip I've ever seen on a mechanical pencil. So we'll just throw that one over there. This one, it makes it seem a little bit more smooth, just nicer and more professional looking, I guess. The retractable tip is probably the best feature on this, and for $10 on Amazon, it runs quite a bit higher on some other websites. I think I've seen as high as 21. But I mean, on Amazon, it's going to cost you $10 for each of the models. I've seen a full set, one of every size, for about $35. So you're going to save a couple bucks, or about $1.25 on each one. The mechanism that holds it forward, I've already mentioned this, but you don't get the plunger feeling like some people mention on the 800s, and I think that's because of the way it stays forward. I haven't noticed too much of a plunger feeling on my 800s, but I also just got them recently. I've got the 800 and the 800 Plus, but this one is definitely going to keep that away. So overall, I think it's a great mechanical pencil, awesome one for your money. Great features for the cost. So let me know below what you think of the 1000, and if I missed anything, let me know. Alrighty, thanks again, guys. Have a good week.